Hi, gorgeous mamas. My toddler just went to sleep for a nap. It's Sunday, and I thought I would hop on really quick and talk with you about something that a lot of us mamas will experience on the weekends, which is the day after a binge. Now, as you guys know, emotional eating, binge eating, and the binge and restrict cycle was something that I dealt with personally for years, almost a decade. And I am all too familiar with this experience of overeating and then blaming yourself to a massive extent. And so um, I really searched for a long time for information on how do I deal with, how do I recover from the day after a binge? How do I pick myself up? And there is some really good common wisdom out there, such as the day after a binge, don't starve yourself. I mean, this is true tips, right? So don't starve yourself the day after a binge. Continue just as if it's a normal day, get maybe a walk in if you can, drink a lot of water. So some basic nutritional foundations of things that you should do after you overeat the next day, which is some common wisdom. But I was really just fed up with, I knew this common wisdom, but yet the day after the binge, the anxiety and the self-blame was so extreme that it actually I was setting myself up for another binge. So that's what I want to just quickly talk with you about today. This is a process. So I've kind of lined out a process of how to deal with the emotional and cognitive functioning that happens to us as high achieving, highly motivated women and mothers the day after a binge. So here's my process, and I want to just lay it out for you in 3 steps. So the day after a binge, as I've already said, eat normally. Don't deprive yourself. Drink a lot of water. Make sure you go to sleep that night. Get rested. Go for a walk. Do all of those things, right? Okay. But here is what to do to ensure that your behaviors are going to continue to produce the results that you want. So step 1, the day after a binge, stop blaming yourself. Stop feeling guilty. Stop feeling like something is wrong with you. I know that that's easier said than done. A lot of us come to this relationship with food because we tend to border on the perfectionist, overachieving side of our personality. And so it's very easy to, when we have done a behavior that we are not proud of, we blame ourselves. We internalize it. Call that into check, ladies. Really step outside your head for a second and just observe that thought is going on. My thought that I had once I stepped outside and just observed the thoughts that were happening in my brain the day after the binge, I recognized that the number one thought that was in my head was, I am not good enough. It was an interesting realization for me because it made me question, good enough for who? How does that thought come into play? But so the day after a binge, step outside and really think, step outside your own head and try to identify what thought is going on in my head. Now, know that the day after a binge, your brain is going to want to blame yourself. Your brain is going to say things like, gosh, geez, what the hell did you do? You did it again. You can't fulfill your promise. Like, your brain is going to try to beat yourself up. Just don't let it. Just decide that you're not going to allow yourself to have those negative thoughts. So that's step 1, stop blaming yourself. Step 2, observe how you're feeling right now. So day after a binge, you wake up, chances are your stomach is going to feel really raw because the lining of your stomach has been agitated from an abundance of glucose and processed foods and maybe a lot of alcohol or other really irritating foods that'll stimulate the lining of your stomach. Your glucose is going to be sky high, and you'll probably be really insulin insensitive, meaning that you're going to have more cravings the next day for sugar. This is all metabolically, it makes sense. This is the way our bodies are primed to move. So when that happens, don't beat yourself up. Observe it and just sit back and say, how am I feeling right now? Now, really challenge yourself to come up with an emotion. Are you feeling sad right now? Are you feeling disappointed? Are you feeling like you're not making progress, disappointed in yourself. So identify that feeling, and this is why. When we continue to binge eat, we create a habit. Our brain associates that immediate dopamine rush with the food as a good thing. So after the habit, we want to unlearn that association and learn a new association. So be very deliberate about the fact that right now in my skin, I don't feel too good. Allow your brain to cognitively go to the realization and the understanding that you don't feel very good. Actually, I ate that whole pint of ice cream last night. It might have been good in the moment. I don't physically feel good right now. Observe that feeling without judgment. Again, this is the step to training your brain to associate that the overeating actually produces a result that you don't want. And you have to deliberately train your brain to do this. Okay, so step one, stop blaming yourself. Step two, observe how you feel right now with the goal of telling your brain, training your brain, that this feeling that you get after you overeat is actually just doesn't feel very good. Okay, then step three, decide how you want to feel right now. Now, what does this mean? You can choose how you feel about yourself, about your body. It doesn't matter if you ate 19 McFlurries last night. How you feel emotionally in this moment is your decision. So if you feel like shit and if you feel like you have just taken 1,900 steps back and you are never going to lose this weight, that feeling is created by a thought. And notice I actually just articulated the thought. I've just taken 1,900 steps back. I'm never going to lose this weight. That's going to give me a feeling of just defeat. I'm probably not going to be as motivated to get out and go for a walk, which is then going to perpetuate my behaviors that keep me stuck in this thought pattern. You see the cycle? So observe, how do I want to feel right now? Okay, so I know that my stomach feels sick. I know that I'm feeling disappointed and sad in myself. How do I want to feel? I want to feel motivated and capable. I want to feel like I have actually, like I can use this opportunity to learn about myself and continue to grow in my journey and healing my relationship with binge eating. I want to feel empowered. So if I want that, what thought do I have to have right now? Well, for me, the thought was my binge eating episode last night was actually a learning opportunity. That wasn't a horrible mistake that set me back 900 feet or whatever in my weight loss journey, but that was actually an opportunity for me to get real about who I am and my challenges. That was the thought that allowed me to step back, observe my actions without judgment, and slowly start to deprogram my brain from associating food with happiness. So step one, again, to review, stop blaming yourself. Step two, observe, how do I feel right now in my skin and my body this day after I've binged? How do I feel? Step three, how do I want to feel? And then once I decide, how do I want to feel? What thought that is authentic and true to me do I need to think in order to produce that feeling? And sit and really meditate on it. Create that thought for yourself and then live today as if that is true. Because that thought is your truth. The thought, I binge ate last night and it is giving me an opportunity to learn about myself, is my truth. And that's a much more fulfilling truth than the thought, I binge ate last night. What the hell is wrong with me? I'm not good enough. So do you see the process? How when we overeat and then the next day we beat ourselves up, we stew in the negative emotion and we feel out of control, it just then sets us up for another binge eat fest. And then it doesn't matter if we drink a lot of water or eat healthy the next day. Our mind is not in line with the desired results that we want. So that's the process, ladies. The day after a binge eat, don't beat yourself up. Know that this is a normal human response, and just stop blaming yourself. Observe how you're actually physically feeling right now, because you want to help your brain associate that behavior with the reality of how it physically feels. But remember to do that without judgment. And then the next step, the third and final step, is to decide, how do I want to feel about myself right now? What is that? What do I want that to be? And then find that thought that is going to support that feeling and live it as if it's your truth. This is something you have to practice, okay? These 3 steps, you will have to be deliberate about following these 3 steps. It's not going to come naturally. I suggest you get out a piece of paper and you write down your answers. Step 1, am I blaming myself? What are my thoughts? Stop those negative thoughts. So write down the negative thoughts that are going on in your head and just decide that you're done with them, gonna can them. Step 2, observe how I want to feel right now. Write down, how am I feeling right now? What is that physical sensation in my body? And then step 3, how do I want to feel right now? And what thought do I need to have to create that feeling? And then go live it as if it's your truth, because it is your truth. Oh, I hope that's helpful, ladies. 3 steps to ensuring that the day after a binge, your brain is in the right place to be able to produce the results that you want. I love you guys. Keep trucking. We're in this together. And thanks so much for being part of my Strong Mom tribe. Mwah!